Let's begin with a truth that might surprise you. Your emotions are not reactive, they are predictive. According to research from Lisa Feldman Barrett, one of the most influential neuroscientists studying emotion, your brain doesn't simply respond to the world. Instead, it's constantly using past experiences to predict how you should feel in the next moment before that moment even happens. This means your anger, your calm, your anxiety, they're often not reactions to reality, but predictions your brain is making based on patterns it's learned over time. This insight shifts everything, because if emotions are predictions, not fixed responses, then they are malleable. They can be trained, shaped, and mastered. Mastering your emotions isn't about suppressing them. It's about understanding how your brain creates them and using that knowledge to shift how you feel, think, and respond in real time. That has powerful implications not just for your mood, but for your physical health, your ability to focus, your relationships, and even your long-term success. Think about the last time you snapped at someone you care about, felt overwhelmed for no clear reason, or couldn't stop ruminating late at night. That wasn't just you being emotional, it was your nervous system doing its job, but perhaps not in the most helpful way. The good news? Science gives us tools to change that. In this episode, we're going to explore the neuroscience of emotional regulation, not in abstract terms, but in clear, actionable insights. You'll learn why your brain mispredicts emotional signals and how to recalibrate it, how breathing and body awareness can instantly shift brain state, the surprising power of naming your emotions to reduce their intensity, how your posture and visual field can influence mood and anxiety, why dopamine and serotonin affect not just pleasure, but emotional control, and a powerful daily protocol to train emotional resilience over time. You don't need to be ruled by your emotions. With the right tools, backed by neuroscience, you can lead them. And that might be one of the most life-changing skills you'll ever build. Your emotions might feel like reactions to what's happening right now, a rude comment, an overwhelming workload, a moment of joy. But what neuroscience shows us is something much deeper. Your emotions are predictions made by your brain based on past experience, context, and internal state. This insight comes from the work of Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, who developed what's known as the theory of constructed emotion. According to this framework, your brain is constantly predicting what will happen next and preparing your body to respond before it actually knows what's happening. These predictions are shaped by your prior emotional history, your environment, and even your energy levels. Think of it like this: your brain is a prediction engine. It uses your internal library of past experiences to guess what you should feel next in order to help you act quickly and survive. But here's the catch. Those guesses aren't always accurate. If your nervous system has been primed by chronic stress, trauma, or even poor sleep, your brain might start predicting danger or threat in situations that aren't actually dangerous. Here's a simple example. Let's say you're waiting for a text from someone important to you. They don't reply for hours. You might feel anxious, rejected, or even angry, but none of that is a direct response to reality. It's your brain filling in the blanks with a prediction. Last time this happened, I was ghosted. This must be happening again. The emotional response happens before you even know the facts. What's happening in your brain during this moment involves key regions like the insula, which integrates bodily signals, and the default mode network, which pulls from memory to generate predictions. When your brain expects something negative, it engages threat circuits like the amygdala, even if no real threat is present. The empowering part? You can train your brain to make better predictions. One way to start is by increasing contextual awareness. Ask yourself, in a charged emotional moment, is this reaction based on what's actually happening or what I expect to happen? This simple pause allows your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, to stay online instead of being hijacked by automatic threat responses. Another tool is updating your emotional library through deliberate experiences. Expose yourself to safe, novel challenges, social, physical, or emotional, and reflect on them afterward. Over time, this teaches your brain that not every unfamiliar situation is a threat, and that not every delay or discomfort needs to be met with anxiety. Finally, track your emotional triggers. Patterns reveal predictions. When you understand what consistently activates a strong emotional state, you can begin to rewire how your brain prepares for those moments and choose a different response. Remember, if your emotions are built, not born, that means they're trainable. And emotional mastery isn't about becoming robotic. It's about regaining agency over what your brain expects so you can better control what you feel. You've probably heard the phrase mind over matter, but in neuroscience, the reverse is often more powerful: body over mind. What's happening in your body, your breathing, posture, heart rate, even gut, sends constant feedback to your brain. This feedback shapes your emotional experience in real time. If your body signals stress, your brain interprets the world through a lens of threat. If your body signals calm, your brain assumes safety, and that radically shifts how you feel and respond. This loop is governed by something called interoception, your brain's ability to sense the internal state of your body. Interoception plays a central role in emotion. In fact, studies using fMRI imaging show that areas like the anterior insula and somatosensory cortex are activated during both emotional experiences and bodily awareness. In other words, emotions don't just arise in the brain, they're built from the body upward. A key player here is the autonomic nervous system, which has two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system, which activates stress and alertness; the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes calm, rest, and recovery. You can influence this system directly with your breath. Here's what the research shows. A technique called physiological sighing, studied by Dr. Jack Feldman and discussed by Dr. Andrew Huberman, is one of the fastest ways to shift your body into a parasympathetic state. It works like this: inhale deeply through your nose, then take a second shorter inhale to top off the lungs. Now exhale slowly through the mouth. This double inhale followed by a long exhale mimics a natural sigh your body uses under stress and immediately reduces levels of carbon dioxide in the blood, slows your heart rate, and sends a signal of calm to your brain. Another powerful tool: nasal breathing, especially during stress. Unlike mouth breathing, nasal breathing increases nitric oxide production, which enhances oxygen delivery and calms the nervous system. It also helps regulate brainwave activity, shifting you out of reactive states. You can use these tools in the moment when anxiety spikes, before a difficult conversation, or even during a stressful commute. But the real transformation happens when you build these into a daily regulation routine. 3 to 5 minutes of physiological sighing or box breathing, 4-4-4-4-4, in the morning, slow nasal breathing while walking, especially outdoors, a 10-minute body scan meditation in the evening to reconnect with internal signals. Have you noticed how your emotions spiral when your body's out of sync, like when you're dehydrated, underslept, or haven't moved in hours? That's not weakness, that's biology. The fastest way to change how you feel is often to change how you breathe, move, or focus your body. Emotion starts in the body, not just the brain. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. Every week, we break down tools like this to help you master your mind, body, and performance using real science. When you align your physiology with your intentions, emotional control isn't something you chase, it becomes your natural baseline. You might think putting words to your emotions just makes them more real, but the opposite is true. One of the most reliable and well-studied ways to regulate emotion is also one of the simplest: labeling what you feel. This tool, called affect labeling, was studied in an influential fMRI experiment by Dr. Matthew Lieberman and colleagues at. Participants were shown images that triggered negative emotions, like fear or anger. When they were asked to describe the emotion they were feeling, brain scans showed decreased activity in the amygdala, the brain's primary threat detection center, and increased activation in the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, the region involved in cognitive control and regulation. Put simply, when you name an emotion, you create distance from it. You shift brain activity from primitive reactivity to higher order control. You've probably experienced this. You're feeling overwhelmed and you finally say it out loud: "I'm anxious." In that moment, you feel a slight release, a sense that the emotion no longer owns you completely. That's not just psychological. That's neural circuitry changing in real time. So here's what's happening in your brain when this occurs. Your limbic system, which generates emotional responses, is firing with intensity. But the act of naming engages the prefrontal cortex, allowing you to reflect rather than react. This integration builds what neuroscientists call emotional granularity, the ability to precisely identify and differentiate feelings. The more granular your emotional vocabulary, the better your emotional control. Someone who can distinguish between frustrated, disappointed, and resentful will respond more flexibly than someone who just says, pissed. A simple tool to apply is the name it, acknowledge, redirect method. Name it, I feel anxious, overwhelmed, irritated. Acknowledge it. This emotion is here for a reason. It's a signal, not an enemy. Redirect attention, shift focus to breath, body, or a productive action, a call, a walk, a task. Another protocol, use a daily emotional check-in journal. Take 60 seconds to write down what you're feeling, what may have triggered it, how your body is responding. This simple habit builds awareness and begins to rewire how your brain handles stress, conflict, or uncertainty. Have you ever tried to suppress a feeling only for it to grow stronger? It's the paradox. Suppression fuels emotion, but recognition releases it. Mastery doesn't mean you never feel fear, sadness, or anger. It means you can step outside those emotions, observe them, and choose your next move with clarity. Your brain is always listening to how you describe your internal world. When you give your emotions language, you give yourself leadership over them. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, stressed about an upcoming deadline. Your eyes are slightly narrowed, your gaze is locked straight ahead, your shoulders are hunched. Everything in your body is signaling tension, not just to the outside world, but to your brain. What many people don't realize is that your visual system and posture are not just passive, they're active drivers of your emotional state, and you can use them intentionally to shift how you feel. Let's start with vision. Research in neurobiology shows that the direction and scope of your gaze can directly influence your nervous system state. When you focus on a single point, like a screen or a tight visual target, your brain interprets it as a cue for vigilance. It's called focal vision, and it's associated with heightened activity in the sympathetic nervous system, the same system involved in stress and fight or flight responses. In contrast, when you intentionally widen your field of view by relaxing your gaze and taking in more of your peripheral vision, your brain interprets that as a signal of safety. This is called panoramic or optic flow-based vision, and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting calm. Dr. Andrew Huberman has spoken extensively about this effect. By simply lifting your gaze from the screen and allowing your eyes to go soft focus, as if you're looking at the horizon, you send a message to your brain. There's no immediate threat. We're okay. You can use this tool anytime stress spikes. Pause, widen your gaze, soften your focus, and hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. Now, posture. Your body position communicates just as much to your brain as your thoughts do. Slouched posture, common when we sit at desks or scroll on phones, compresses the diaphragm, limits oxygen flow, and reinforces a low-power defensive state. In contrast, standing or sitting upright with shoulders relaxed and chest open changes both body chemistry and brain state. A study from Harvard and Columbia found that expansive posture can increase testosterone and reduce cortisol in just 2 minutes. Hormonal shifts that influence both confidence and emotional resilience. Try this. Between tasks, stand up. Roll your shoulders back, open your chest, and take a panoramic gaze. Pair this with 2 to 3 physiological sighs from part 2 and feel the shift in emotional tone almost instantly. Small changes in how you look at the world and how you hold your body change how your brain interprets your world. They shift your chemistry, your threat response, and your emotional clarity. And if this insight resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. This channel exists to give you practical, science-backed tools that make your brain and body work with you, not against you. You don't have to wait for your emotions to change to feel better. You can act your way into a better emotional state, starting with your eyes, your breath, and your body. When we talk about emotional regulation, we often focus on mindset, breathing, or habits, but behind every emotional state is chemistry. And two of the most powerful molecules involved are dopamine and serotonin. These aren't just feel-good chemicals, as they're often described. They're neuromodulators, meaning they don't just transmit signals, they adjust how entire brain circuits operate. They change how we perceive reward, threat, patience, motivation, and even our ability to bounce back from adversity. Let's start with dopamine. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation and pursuit. It's what drives you to set goals, overcome obstacles, and seek novelty. But it's also closely tied to emotional highs and lows. When dopamine is high and well regulated, you feel energized, focused, and optimistic. When it crashes, which often happens after overstimulation or chronic stress, you feel flat, unmotivated, or even depressed. What's crucial to understand is that dopamine is not just released when you achieve something, it's released when you move toward a meaningful goal. Studies show that the anticipation of reward, not the reward itself, produces the strongest and most sustainable dopamine response. One way to work with this is by creating dopamine stability protocols. Break big goals into smaller milestones. Celebrate progress, not just outcomes. Avoid excessive artificial dopamine spikes, e.g. junk food, endless scrolling that desensitize receptors. Use cold exposure, such as cold showers or plunges, which research shows can increase baseline dopamine levels by over 200% for hours without a crash. Now, serotonin is often called the molecule of contentment. It's associated with calm, confidence, social bonding, emotional balance, and impulse control. While dopamine drives action, serotonin helps you stabilize, especially in uncertain or emotionally charged situations. Serotonin is tightly linked to behaviors that signal status and self-respect. Posture, sunlight exposure, and even the way you speak to yourself influence serotonin activity. For example, research from Dr. Charles Raison and colleagues has shown that exposure to natural sunlight, especially in the morning, significantly boosts serotonin levels through retinal stimulation. Here's a simple serotonin stabilizing protocol. Get sunlight exposure within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, 5 to 10 minutes on clear days, 20-30 on cloudy ones. Exercise regularly, especially rhythmic activities like walking, cycling, or swimming, shown to increase serotonin transmission. Practice gratitude reflection. Listing 3 things you're grateful for daily has been shown to activate brain circuits involved in serotonin release. Have you ever noticed how you're more emotionally patient after a good night's sleep or after walking outside in nature? That's not just your mood improving. That's your neuromodulators coming back into balance. Understanding these chemicals isn't about trying to hack your way to happiness. It's about supporting the brain systems that support you. Small, consistent behaviors compound over time to create the biochemical conditions for emotional control. When you feel like your emotions are spiraling, one of the most grounded questions you can ask is, have I supported my chemistry today? Your brain isn't a black box, it's a responsive system. When you align your lifestyle with the science your emotions follow, you've now seen how breath, body, attention, language, and brain chemistry all shape emotion. But here's the truth. Understanding the science is only step 1. Transformation happens when you create a system, a protocol, and live it consistently. Because emotions aren't just fleeting reactions, they're trainable patterns shaped by what you do every day, especially under stress. So let's make this real. Let's create a daily emotional resilience protocol grounded in neuroscience and designed to help you feel more centered, more in control, and more adaptable in the face of challenge. Morning, create clarity and neurochemical balance, 15-30 minutes. Sunlight exposure within 30-60 minutes of waking. This is non-negotiable. Get outside and get light into your eyes. This anchors your circadian rhythm, boosts serotonin, and sets the tone for emotional regulation all day. Breathwork. Use physiological sighs or box breathing to shift into a calm, alert state. This balances your autonomic nervous system and preps your brain for focus and emotional control. Emotional labeling journal, 2 minutes. Write down what you feel, not what you should feel, but what's real. Name it, acknowledge it. Let your prefrontal cortex integrate it. This trains emotional granularity and self-awareness. Optional. Cold exposure, cold shower, or splash. A natural, science-backed dopamine reset. Cold exposure boosts motivation and mental resilience without the crash. Midday, recenter and reset, 5 to 10 minutes. Visual field reset. Step away from tight focused tasks. Walk outside or look at a distant horizon. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and reduces visual and emotional fatigue. Posture plus movement check. Stand tall, shoulders back, breathe deeply. Even a 5-minute walk or stretch recalibrates your nervous system and releases emotional tension held in the body. Spinning. Reflect and recover 10-15 minutes. Body scan or mindfulness practice 5-10 minutes. Bring attention to your physical state. Where are you holding tension? What's the quality of your breath? This builds interoceptive awareness. The foundation of emotional regulation. Gratitude or wins journal. Write down 3 small wins or things you're grateful for. This reinforces serotonin pathways and rebalances emotional bias toward the positive. Digital sunset. Turn off screens at least 30-60 minutes before bed. This reduces late-night dopamine spiking and improves sleep, which is the single biggest driver of emotional resilience. This isn't a life hack. It's a neuroscience-informed rhythm, one that aligns your physiology, cognition, and behavior in support of emotional control. Have you ever wondered why some days you feel unshakable and others, like you're one text away from snapping? It's rarely just external triggers. It's your internal system. How you slept, what you ate, how you breathed, how you labeled or ignored your emotions. Resilience isn't something you wake up with. It's something you train with repetition and intention. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to practice. Even 60% consistency with this protocol can yield massive shifts in how you feel, respond, and lead your life. If you've made it this far, you already understand something vital. Emotional mastery isn't about being stoic or unshakable. It's about becoming fluent in the language of your own nervous system. Let's quickly review what we covered and, more importantly, how you can apply it. Your emotions are shaped by brain-body loops. Breath, posture, and visual field send constant feedback to your brain about whether you're safe or under threat. Use physiological size, panoramic vision, and upright posture to shift your state in real time. Stress doesn't always mean something's wrong. It can mean you're growing. Reframe your relationship with stress by embracing adaptive energy and building stress capacity through cold exposure, deep rest, and task switching. Labeling emotions reduces their grip on you. Practice affect labeling, name it to tame it. This simple act shifts activity from the reactive amygdala to the reflective prefrontal cortex. Your gaze and body position influence emotional control. Panoramic vision and power posture aren't just physical, they're neural tools. Use them throughout the day to reset. Dopamine and serotonin form the chemical foundation of your emotional state. Manage dopamine through goal setting, cold exposure, and avoiding overstimulation. Support serotonin with sunlight, movement, and gratitude. A consistent daily protocol wires resilience into your nervous system. Morning light, breathwork, movement, and reflection aren't extras. They're essential reps in your emotional fitness routine. Here's what the research shows again and again. Your brain is changeable. Your emotions are trainable. And the tools are already in your hands. This doesn't mean every day will feel easy, but it means you'll know how to respond when it doesn't. That's what control really is, not the absence of chaos, but the ability to navigate it with clarity. So here's a challenge. Try just one of these tools today. Maybe it's a 2-minute breath reset. Maybe it's getting sunlight first thing tomorrow. Maybe it's taking 30 seconds to name the emotion that's been buzzing below the surface. Whatever it is, start now. Your nervous system is always listening, always adapting. And if this helped you see yourself or your emotions differently, I invite you to like the video, subscribe, and share in the comments. Which tool are you going to try first? What's one thing you've learned about how your brain handles emotion? This channel isn't just here to inform. It's here to support your growth. Every week, we dive deeper into science-based tools to help you lead a more focused, resilient, and intentional life. Thanks for watching. Keep training the system that guides everything else, your mind.